Hello, Elizabeth, Dr. E. Carter, PhD. Welcome to Elevate Your Value. I'm so excited. I will be talking with one of my co-authors in my volume 2 of Letters to My Corporate Sisters, stories of endurance, elevation, and encouragement. Welcome, Naomi Carrington-Hockman, DTM. How are you tonight, Naomi?
Good evening, good night. Hello, Dr. E. I'm doing great.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining me to have a great conversation about you, about your chapter in the book, and in general, how you're elevating the value of others. First of all, just tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, everyone, I am Naomi Carrington-Hockman, and what I do in my spare time is I empower doubtful communicators and leaders to gain confidence in their ability to create presentations and effective business solutions. But what that really means is after 20 years in the military, in the United States Army as an officer, and 11 years as a Toastmaster, attaining 2 Distinguished Toastmaster Awards, which is the highest award you can achieve in the organization. I've gathered a couple skills that I'm able to share with everyone.
Great. And what drew you to wanting to be able to help others elevate their value through communication and leadership?
Well, all you have to do is take a look at the current political situation and realize that we are failing to communicate.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So when we talk about the fact that there have been failures to communicate, and you're absolutely correct, not just today, I think everywhere all the time. Tell me about a time when you weren't feeling valued as far as you were working to communicate, but you weren't feeling as if the recipient of the communication was valuing what you had to say.
So I was sitting in a corporate job, and my supervisor was just not getting me, and I wasn't getting her. If I said the sky was blue, she would say it's purple. And every meeting was contentious. So that was really a situation where it was not sustainable. Neither of us were at our best. And no matter what sort of mediation techniques I used, she didn't get it. So that was one example where I definitely did not feel valued. And I thought that instead of burying it, I reported her to HR and I wrote a book.
I love it. I love it. Now so clearly she didn't realize there was a problem on her end. She thought it was just you.
Absolutely. We, didn't understand that communication works 3 ways. I send a message, she's supposed to receive the message, and then she sends a message back. That comprehension leg of that back and forth was not happening. So I also don't think she had the emotional intelligence to even understand what was going on.
Wow. I love how you said it's a three-way. There's a three-way component. We always think it's two-way conversation. I love how you said it's three-way because you're right. We could be talking to each other and not necessarily understanding or really relating to what the other person said. That's great. That's great. And it's unfortunate you had to go to extreme measures that you had to report her because and sometimes we're afraid to do that. So what gave you the bravery to go ahead and say, you know what, I have to go ahead and take it to a higher level?
A few things. One was therapy. I was speaking with a therapist, and everything we were talking about came back to that person. So he stopped everything and said, until we could address what's going on with that person, we're not going to make any progress. So it was stunting my productivity, it was stunting my growth, it was stunting all aspects of my development and existence. And so having to stop, do the assessment, take assessment, and realize I needed to address this person and the situation was what I had to do.
Great. Thank you for sharing that and being transparent. It does sometimes take a third party looking in to let us realize that, and we always think, well, maybe it's me, maybe it's something I need to be doing differently. But he said, no, it's not. It's the other person. So I applaud you for seeking out that third party consultation to help validate that. That's great. That's great. And to my elevate your value audience, same thing. A lot of times you need to look externally for the answer. You can't tackle it all on your own because you always might think, well, maybe it's just me. What can I be doing differently? But it's not you. So I applaud you for doing that, Naomi. So now talk about a good time when there was something that went great, where the communication went out, it was received correctly, and came back to you correctly.
Absolutely. I've had the privilege of serving in Toastmasters International's leadership positions in the organization. And I had been advising a fellow district leader, kind of mentoring her through the position since I had completed that position. So we had a situation where we needed to charter a club. And she was struggling with that task. And so I gave her some advice. I gave her some, we sat down and had a conversation. I gave her some advice, some pointers, some tips. And I'm happy and very pleased that because she heard what I had to offer, listened, we have a saying that says, with advice, you take the meat and throw out the bones. And that's what she did. She took the meat of what I had to offer, and she was successful. And she was a select distinguished advisor, director.
Excellent, excellent. I love that. The meat and the bones. So help someone distinguish what really might that look like. What would be considered meat? Just pick any example, and what would be meat and what would be the bones?
Right. So your girlfriends, your friends, even your spouse may give you advice. Sometimes all the advice isn't exactly relevant or pertinent or even practical. And I'll give you an example. I had an ex-boyfriend, and he thought he was doing the best that he can because I struggled with running. And so he would say, well, you need to stretch first, and then take these protein drinks, and then do an ice bath, and then do a hot shower. So he had all this advice. I did not do ice baths. Okay. That was not practical for my lifestyle. And I didn't like the protein shakes. So I took from his advice, I took the pieces that were relevant, practical, and things that I can actually implement. And I threw away the rest of stuff like a damn ice bath.
Thank you. Thank you. I love that because, we all tend to take advice, or I should say, receive advice, and we think that we have to do everything they said, or we'll feel bad. Oh, well, he said to do the ice bath. I really don't want to do the ice bath, but I will because he said to. No, you don't have to do everything. What people offer are suggestions. The way they say it may sound like a demand, but it really is suggestions, which means you have a choice to do or not to do. So I love that. Thank you, Naomi. And I'll think about you if someone ever offers me an ice bath, because they're good though when your bones are really, really, really aching. I will let you know that. So let's talk about your Naomi Speaks. We'll call it your side hustle, because you do have a job still working in IT for the military. When people come to you, like example, you mentioned this district director who came to you for help. What really is that most frequent problem they come to you for? Like when somebody has a problem, they say, "Oh, go see Naomi." What is that particular problem?
Well, my area of expertise is around the military, and I specialize in working with service members who want to transition into the corporate space, but maybe they don't feel as confident about what to do next. So I help them with their confidence, and I have a whole camo uh, with their speaking skills, as well as a salute uh, kind of technique where I can help them achieve and or succeed the level of success that they had when they were in the military. Because we have a lot of service members that transition into the corporate space
Right.
and they're not able to present themselves as confidently as they did back in uniform.
Interesting. And what do you think? Where do they lose the confidence? Because you're right, these folks are serving our country. They're out fighting wars for us. They are willing to lose their life for us. What makes it so different when they come back out to civilian world?
So in uniform, that camouflage that we wore was almost like armor. We wear it like a badge of honor. As in the Army, we have all these badges and awards, and you can tell how many combat tours, and you have patches that told a whole story. You could just look at somebody, and between their rank and what they were wearing, memorabilia or emblem, badges and stuff, you can tell where they've been, what they've done, what they've accomplished, like a whole story. When we transition to the corporate world, we take off that armor. That armor is gone. In your cute pantsuit, we can't tell what you've done in the past. We don't know anything. So that armor is removed when we take off the uniform. And so we're literally starting from scratch in terms of building up our confidence to be able to continue to achieve the level of success we were used to.
Oh, that's awesome. If I think about when you talked about that armor, if you will, we all have that. We all have certain things that create who we are, what we've been through in the past. And you're right, we don't know what that is. We all have, naked, if you will, when we're moving from one area of life into the next. So how did you help really bridge that gap to allow those individuals to feel as if they still had that sense of confidence and that sense of, I'll say, honor, if you will, as they begin their corporate journey?
Correct. So, in a lot of times we're giving presentations, and what I do with those transitioning folks is I remind them that they are the subject matter experts of whatever they're presenting. They need to think of themselves as the smartest person in the room, and you have all the information in your head, and you just need to get it out to these folks that don't know the information. Also, I also focus on the physical aspects of confidence in terms of their breathing, if they need to do a warrior pose before they go on stage. Some guys do push-ups just so they can get their blood flowing and channel the anxiety of having to go on a stage or having to give a presentation. If you have your body, the blood pumping and all your organs doing what they're supposed to be doing, they're not focused on the nerves and the butterflies.
Thank you. Those are great activities for anybody. Again, we all have suffer from that same sense of anxiety. And you're right, we are smart, the smartest person in the room. We know what we bring to the table. So it absolutely is. How do we convey that, even though we know inside we're probably shaking and we're nervous, and we hope that our words come out effectively so that there is the essence of this three-way communication. So that is great. I love that. And the fact that, and I always thank you for your service, and thank you for serving those who have served, because I know it's difficult for them to come back and start something brand new. And I know we love veterans, especially their work ethic is a little bit different. They do bring a lot of skill sets to the table. It's just really a matter of how do we make sure that the leadership and managers understand that and allow them to thrive in an area that might be very different for them. So again, thank you for what you do for them. So what else are some other quick and easy ways someone, whether they're transitioning from the military or even starting a brand new job, what can they do to elevate their value?
So one of the things I talk about in my chapter is making sure that when you're in a corporate setting and you're at the table and your boss asks you a question, make sure that you're giving a clear, concise, and to the point response. We have a lot of people that just talk. They talk for 5 minutes and never answer the question. So I encourage corporate folks to speak up, but speak clearly and confidently and quickly. I usually put 3 C's, and the third C is succinctly.
I love it. I love it. And how can people get in contact with you if they would love to talk to you more about maybe they are transitioning from the military, did not know that you existed and would love to work with you? How can they get in contact with you?
I am at info@naomispeaks.com and also Naomi Carrington-Hockman on Instagram.
Wonderful. Any last words for Elevate Your Value audience, Naomi?
Absolutely. I've had the privilege of being able to participate in the co-author panel with some amazing co-authors on this book, Corporate Sisters. And I learned so much from them that I feel like my chapter is good. Theirs is even better. And so collectively, you have an amazing powerhouse of women that are providing sage advice. And so there's no need for anyone to make the same mistakes or to have to navigate the same stumbling blocks that we did, because the answers are all in that book.
Thank you, Naomi. I appreciate that. And I thank you so much for saying yes to being in the book and sharing your chapter. I certainly appreciate you joining me for Elevate Your Value Summit and podcast. We appreciate you here out in the Elevate Your Value audience. Thank you so much for joining us, Naomi, and to my Elevate Your Value audience. Stay tuned, more interviews to come. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.